Alright, here's part 2 to the Yandere Dev X saga. This one will be way shorter than the first part, but I still felt the need to split them up because of how long the gap between our relationship attempts were. No need for an intro, I'm just gonna get right into it. 3 months after Dev and I had broken up, me and my current partner started dating. During this time, I had still felt broken by what Dev did, but I no longer had the urge to want him back. I considered reaching out to him on a couple passing holidays like Halloween or Christmas, but I decided against it and just lived my life not worrying about him. During the months from January to March of 2021, my current partner and I were having some serious turmoil in our relationship. February, things seemed to go back to normal, but then at the end of March, he tells me he's quote unquote a romantic and that he didn't want to date me anymore. As a side tidbit, I knew that was bullshit, and he confirmed such later when we got back together that it was a bluff because he needed space. Could have just told me he needed space, but I digress. We weren't in a relationship per se after that, but we quote unquote acted like we were and still did things couples would do, in public and in private. I guess we were like friends with benefits or something, but I saw it more as we were quote unquote dating, but the relationship label did not fully apply to our situation. A couple months of this friends with benefits thing passed by, and I decided I wanted to be in a real relationship again, not just a situationship. Out of complete happenstance, I ran into Yandere Dev like 3 or 4 times, maybe more, within only a month or two, and I took that as fate telling me to get back with him. Eventually, I'm riding my new electric scooter, who I affectionately named King George, around the local park while wearing headphones, and I see Dev walking around with his mom. Eventually, he splits off from her and begins to trail me for like 10 minutes. I then park my scooter and go down to sit on the bleachers. He sits next to me, my song concludes, and we get to talking. For a bit of context here, I had moved out of my parents' house a couple months prior to live with a former friend and was now only a mile or so away from where Dev and his family lived, so the park was within a reasonable radius from both of us. You could see his street from the park. He was that close. We were friends again almost instantaneously, and he clarified what exactly happened to make us break up. He said that his mom was the one who pushed it on him and that COVID was also a deciding factor. So that proved his mom didn't like me, and he told me his sister wasn't a huge fan of me either back then, but didn't take part in our breakup. Off topic, but funnily enough, I'm actually friends with his sister to this day, and like talking to her more than I like talking to him. Anyways, that cleared up the breakup conundrum and showed me what the true motives were behind it. Truth was, he didn't really want to break up, but our fight the couple nights prior gave his mom a chance to be like, oh, this is your get out of jail free card, and persuaded him to end it. He also told me he had the same struggle I did, wanting to reach out, but was afraid to because of rejection or radio silence from the other end. At the time, it felt good to know I wasn't alone in feeling like that. We don't see each other or talk about a week after that, and then I gather up the courage to once again ask him out on a quote unquote date, in quotes because I wasn't sure what to call it at the time. Initially, I said if I was still single by the time he graduated college, we could try something again, but the temptation of getting back into a relationship was strong, and I foolishly fell under its spell. He said yes to going out again, and after that quote unquote date, our relationship was back in full swing. I had started a job at a box factory at this point in time, so now I was in a different work environment, and a lot of my factory pals were happy for me. I could tell my current partner. Okay, let's just give him an alias too, so it isn't so wordy when I refer to him. I'll call him Kael'thas, after the Blood Elf Lord in Warcraft. Anyways, I could tell that Kael'thas wasn't very happy with me being with Dev again, and would try constantly to make me hug, kiss, whatever with him. He was relentless. Later on, he would confess that he was afraid to be replaced and figured if he kept trying to win me back, he wouldn't lose me entirely. Fast forward to around November, I had been kicked out of my previous residence and moved in with Kael'thas and his family for a short time. After I had seen Dev during his Thanksgiving break, I decided to test him. I was going to see how long it would take for him to contact me first, because once again, I had been doing all the communication work just like the first time we dated. A friend from work who we'll call Roxy was telling me that this wasn't going to work and I was the only one trying. Eventually, she convinced me, and that's what made me test him. A whole month goes by, and he texts me a few days after Christmas asking if I wanted to meet up. My response was short, and I blew him off to go to Dave and Buster's with Kael'thas. At this point in time, I no longer had feelings for Dev. I kind of wanted him out of the picture, but me being in a relationship meant more to me at the time than being alone, despite Kael'thas being there. In January, Roxy finally convinced me to break up with Dev. While at work, I took a bathroom break and texted him around 1:30 in the morning that day that I really didn't think this was going to work out, and I didn't want to be with him anymore. He responds in the afternoon saying he respects my decision and asked if we could still be friends. I said yes, and maybe at some point in the future we can give this a third shot, but for now it was over. Apparently, this did not register in Dev's head, and he thought we were still together despite me clearly breaking it off. From that moment till around the end of March into April, he thinks we're still dating. I put up with it for a couple months, but then I get tired of it because my feelings were not there and we were not dating. So my responses began to get shorter and shorter. Then, just to make him go away or realize I didn't want to be with him, I put my profile picture on Discord as a picture of me and Kael'thas. That night, while I'm at work, I get a paragraph saying that if I really didn't want to be with him and wanted Kael'thas instead to be his guest. Dude, we broke up in January! So, I respond saying that yes, this was officially the end, and that Kael'thas and I had gotten back together. I said we could stay friends, but that was it, and I don't think we'd ever be able to be together again. I'm still with Kael'thas to this day, and have not considered getting back with Dev again. Dev and I, as mentioned in the first part, still maintain contact occasionally, but usually I just wish him happy holidays or vent to him, and that's it. We don't talk outside of that, and I'm okay keeping it that way because I'm not entirely sure I want to still be his friend to begin with. At the end of the day, I enjoyed it while it lasted, but I truly think while fate initially brought us together, it also tore us apart in the end. What I learned from this relationship the second time around is to not get back with someone who didn't contribute any effort to the relationship the first time you were with them. And also that once you notice your feelings are fading, to just end it instead of doing like I did with Pepe and stringing them along for months before finally exploding. In other words, once a shitty partner, always a shitty partner, apparently. If I ever ran into Dev again in person, I would talk to him, but for how long will remain a mystery for now. At this point in time, I would try to conclude the conversation ASAP, but that could change in the future. As of now, I wouldn't want to run into him, but if it did happen, I wouldn't just not say anything. I'd at the least say hello. Well, there you go. That's it for episode 5. The finale, again, will be released sometime in the spring or summer, but I have another video planned to go out before that, which is irrelevant to this series. I'm actually pretty excited to make that video as it's very personal to me, but not so excited to make the finale of this series because I hate talking about my ex-girlfriend more than almost anything. However, I promised you all a finale, so a finale you will get. Until next time, Pokemon or bust. See ya.